Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, dear children. Today we shall be taking up the poem No Men Are Foreign by James Kirkup. This particular poem has been taken from Class 9 NCERT book Beehive. James Kirkup was an English poet, translator, and travel writer. Now let us do a quick recitation of the complete poem. No men are foreign. Remember, no men are strange, no countries foreign. Beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes like ours. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like this, in which we all shall lie. They too, aware of sun and air and water, are fed by peaceful harvests, by war's long winter starved. Their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. Remember, they have eyes like ours that wake or sleep, and strength that can be won by love. In every land is a common life that all can recognize and understand. Let us remember, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispossess, betray, condemn. Remember, we who take arms against each other, it is the human earth that we defile. Our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocence of air that is everywhere our own. Remember, no men are foreign and no countries strange. Now, before taking up stanza-wise explanation of the whole poem, I would like to quote a Greek philosopher, the great Greek philosopher Socrates here. He said, I am a citizen not of Athens or Greece, but of the world. If we go back to your first term syllabus, if you are able to recollect the chapter on Albert Einstein, you would remember that the world remembers Einstein even today as a world citizen. Now, this poem basically deals with the theme of universal brotherhood. So, it was important that we talk of such things. Now, in the first stanza, the poet starts by saying, remember, no men are strange and no country is foreign. Beneath all uniforms, a single body breathes like ours. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like this in which we shall lie. Now, basically, what is he trying to say here in the beginning? That no one is strange and countries are not foreign, because under all these uniforms, okay, now when we are talking of uniforms, uniforms refer to various militaries of different countries. These uniforms may be different in color, design, shape, and culture, but people who wear these uniforms are the same. Okay, a single body breathes. Body breathes, b b sound is there, so it is an alliteration. Like ours, a single body breathes like ours. The land our brothers walk upon is earth like us, in which we shall lie. So let me take up the second and the third line, where he says a single body breathes like ours. So before that he says that the like ours, and then he says the land our brothers walk upon. So he is basically saying that we all are brothers because we walk on the same earth. God made one earth. Yes, the human beings divided it into various countries, and in the last line he says that we all shall lie in this earth. In the end, we all shall be buried in this earth. So people who live in countries other than ours are also referred to as our brothers by the poet. Now, stanza 2. They too aware of sun and air and water. The word they refers to all the citizens, all the fellow human beings of the world. They too are aware of sun, air and water. What does the word aware mean? The word aware is used to indicate that they draw sustenance, sustenance, sustenance from these mentioned elements of nature. All the people of the world are nurtured equally by sun, air, and water. They enjoy the harvests during peaceful days. Now, when the poet says peaceful harvests, please remember it is not the harvest that is peaceful. So, it is basically a transferred epithet here. Transferred epithet, as you know, it refers to an adjective, and we are not talking of the harvests themselves. Okay, the harvests themselves are not peaceful, but the political or social conditions that are prevailing in a particular country that the poet is talking of. Okay, so if the times are peaceful, then what will happen? There will be no shortage of crops and good harvests will be possible. So a peaceful harvest is a transferred epithet. Then he says, by war's long winter starved. Okay, so now these people who enjoy the harvests during peaceful days, they too have difficult and hard times during wars. Okay, so now he's talking of the situation, the socio-political situations which arise at the time of a war. Okay, so what does he mean by the phrase long winter starve? Basically, he wants to say that these people also, just like us, toil and starve because of the destructive time of the war. The poetic device in war's long winter starved is a metaphor. Here, starvation that is caused by the harsh winter season has been compared to the destructive period of wartime. And the winter of war is called long by the poet. Long winter starved. Okay. So why is this winter of war called long? War times, children, are troubled times. People have no idea of what is going to happen next. So the difficult days and nights seem to be longer to people who are in a war inflicted country or area. The warmth of peaceful days is missing here. People are surrounded by uncertainty, and therefore therefore the poet is calling such times very long, and therefore people find them unending. They seem to be unending. Okay, and in the next line when he says their hands are ours, and in their lines we read a labor not different from our own. Basically he wants to say that people from other nations also work hard just like us. Yes, as I said before, that they too toil and starve. So they also work hard like us with their hands to earn their livelihood, and therefore we cannot say that their labor or their hard work is different from us. So the poet says that their hard work and their labor is certainly not different from us. It is just like ours. Now, in the next stanza, the poet tells the reader to remember that people residing in other nations have eyes like us. They also sleep and wake up each day just like us. And you must, children, notice the use of they and ours in this line, in the first line. They again refers to those people who are not like us and they reside in foreign countries and we consider them strange. And ours refers to those people who live in our country and therefore we think that they are like us. Okay, so he is trying to tell you that they, ours, there is no difference between them and us. Okay, they also possess, they also possess the same qualities as we possess. They can be won by love. In the next line he says and strength that can be won by love. Even they can be won by love just like we can be won by love. Why? Because love is a language which has no barriers, and everyone, children, right from an infant to an old person, can relate to the emotions. Yes, the love, the affection. Next, the poet says, in every land is common life that all can recognize and understand. This means that their experiences of life are similar to ours. Common life here, children, refers to life anywhere in the world that has similar patterns and features, and all experience, like for instance, everyone experiences birth, death, joys, sorrows, youth, old age, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is exactly what he is trying to tell you here. Now we must notice the use of repetition here. This poetic device has been used again and again in this word remember. The poet has used the word remember several times in the whole poem. So please, you also remember that. Now, in the next stanza, that is the fourth stanza, the poet talks of the feeling of hatred. Unfortunately, the seeds of hatred are sown into the minds of people by none other than their own leaders, political leaders. They want to divide and rule the countries. So the poet gives a word of caution here by saying, whenever we are told to hate our brothers, it is ourselves that we shall dispossess. We shall dispossess ourselves because we are letting ourselves hate our brothers in other parts of the world. So, what happens? We lose our sanity as we blindly follow what the political leaders tell us, and therefore, in the process, we find ourselves cheated, as it would deprive us of the bliss of universal brotherhood. So, he does not want you to hate your fellow human beings. Now, the last line of stanza 4 and the first line of stanza 5 are interconnected. So, that is why I did not pick up it over there. So, now here the poet wants us to remember one thing. When we take arms against each other, it is the human earth that we defile. Okay, human earth refers to the human world that consists of all countries, races, culture, and creed. By resorting to violence. And how do we do that? We use arms and ammunition to cause widespread death and destruction. Okay. Then in the second line, the poet is comparing the wars to the hells of fire. Why? The deadly weapons, what do? They emit fire and ashes, and these ashes spread all over and pollute the environment. This robs the air of its purity, and world becomes a more difficult place to live in, where he says, our hells of fire and dust outrage the innocence of air. Okay, what is he trying to say here? That it pollutes the environment that is everywhere our own. So you are polluting your own environment, right? So these weapons outrage the innocence of air by causing irreparable damage to the environment. And in the last line, the poet repeats what he said in the first line. Of course, there is a slight change that he has reversed the order. So he says, remember, no men are foreign and no countries strange. Okay. So children, you also remember that why is he repeating this word remember? Because he wants us to remember this, that we all are living in the same world. We all must practice universal brotherhood. Okay. So let us go on to the conclusion part now. Finally, let us conclude the poem. All the poetic devices have been explained very well. Mainly, the poet has employed alliteration, metaphor, transferred epithet, and repetition. And if we talk of the rhyme scheme, children, there is no rhyme scheme because the poem is written in free verse. And finally, while concluding the poem, the best thing that we can say is that the poem deals with with the theme of universal brotherhood, and therefore we can also see that it is an appropriate title. And the clear message of the poem is obviously that we must stop all kinds of wars against each other and follow the path of peace. All right. So I hope it was a good explanation and you all enjoyed it. Thank you so much.